Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the original steel shad. You can see this guy right here. It's a blade bait. So what does that mean? It's a bait that is all metal. It's got the lead on the front of it there. So when you drop this down, what it does is it'll vibrate when you pick it up or as you reel it. It has this really tight action, really good little vibration, and what that does is make it a great cold water bait. So we're gonna talk about the cold water situations when I fish this the most. There are some other times we'll get into as well, but the steel shad, I'm using this when the water's super cold and the fish just aren't super active. A lot of times it's an area I know that they live, whether it's for smallmouth, largemouth. I use it for both types of species. It really does a good job, but we're going to start off on the smallmouth. So I have a wintering area up in New York where the smallmouth is pile into all fall, and then I'm assuming, stay there through the winter. I don't know when they actually stop biting. Usually I can't get up there after mid-November, just it gets too cold and whatnot, but those fish are there, and depending on the year, the water temperature varies. So the key for this blade bait, or the steel shad as we recall, as this brand is fishing it when you are in that water in that low 50s, like 51, 52. It's okay then, but as soon as you hit that upper 40s, that's when this thing is going to shine. You're going to catch a ton of fish on it that time of year. So what do? How do you fish this bait? I'm going to find that area, whether you have forward-facing sonar or not. It doesn't really matter. These fish are super tight to the bottom when it gets cold. So, going to make this, take a cast, throw it out there, and I'm not trying to bomb this. You could throw this a country mile. It's heavy. This one's a 3/8 ounce. Both of these are. And as you throw that out there, you're going to go let it sink down to the bottom, all the way down there. Once it gets to the bottom, your line tie, you can see, there's actually two options depending on how you want to get the vibration to be a little different. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit more. But it's going down there, sitting on the bottom, and I'm doing short little hops. And when I say short, say this, my hand's at the bottom, I'm going up, let's go right there. 6 inches, 6 inches, maybe a foot. Not much more than a foot. Like 6 inches is really, I'm telling you, you want to feel this thing go zzz, back to the bottom, zzz, just like that. It's a quick, tight action, and that's what that is really key in for the cold weather. And you're going to make that, say, 60, 80 foot cast, let it sink to the bottom, pull it up, and you're going to pull it up the next time, and it's just going to feel like you're stuck. Like oh man, I got one. It's really a cool bite. Like, you're not going to typically thump it because it's cold water, and you're just going to kind of work it slow. The one thing you need to really kind of pay attention to is when you cast that out there, your line will sometimes get wrapped. So it'll go from here, your line's coming off to your rod, and it'll wrap one of your treble hooks. And when it does that, its thing kind of barrel rolls and spins. You will not feel that vibration. That vibration is the key to getting bit. Because if you're not feeling that quick little tight vibration, they're not going to bite. You're wasting your time. Reel it up, throw it back out there, and make that next cast. And that's why I kind of stay in that 60, 80 foot range too. Seems like when you make a longer cast, you go to pull that thing and it tends to foul up more, whether it's on the fall or on the way as you're working it back. And that's why you also want to be super violent with those hops. It's going to be just quick little snap, little snap, little snap. And when you let that thing fall, let it fall in slack line. Huge piece of information there. That slack line, you want it to crash back to the bottom basically. And you're going to get bit. I promise you that. The two colors that I use most, this one here is Tennessee shad. You can see it's a chrome color. It's got a little bit of a black back to it. That's a really good color for sunny conditions. Maybe it's a little bit of partly cloudy, but if I got some sun, good water clarity, this is definitely my go-to. I'll start with this guy. On days when it's got you got a bunch of clouds in there, maybe the water's got a little bit of a stain to it. It doesn't necessarily have to, but that's why I tend to lean towards that gold one more so. You can see here, it's real reflective. You can actually see that one's been chewed on pretty good. A bunch of marks on it from the teeth that they were catching as they grab it and you pull it out of there. But these guys, those are the two I'm doing. If you keep it in the middle slot, or the back slot, I guess you'd call that, it kind of comes up and down more vertically, versus when you have it in that front loop, if you take your split ring and take that off and move it forward, then it'll actually come towards you a little bit more. They come on that back one, and I would say 90% of the time, like that's where I'm keeping this. I'm not going to move it around too much. That's just the spot I like to have it. And that's kind of where we're going with it. So, some other things about the blade bait that probably has you set up like how to use them and what we're doing with them. Rod wise, there we go. That's what I missed. We got to talk about that. So, I use a Dobbins rod, and pause 1 second. I'm gonna grab you. Now I got the rod to show you. Talk about it'll be a little bit easier when I have it in my hand. This is the Dobbins 743 Champion Extreme. This is the orange rod they have there. This is their second highest level. It's a spinning rod, and this setup right here I've been so happy with over the years. It's a medium fast action. So what that means is the medium, if we can see this, I don't know if I'll be able to get the whole rod in here, but I'll try with my best here. It's going to load up, and you can see it's got backbone to it, but it bends about halfway through there. And then the fast tip is important, where you can see where it lets you get that right hopping motion. So if I have that bait down there, we're doing those little 12-foot or 6 to 12-inch hops. Just quick little rod tip snatches. It's going bouncing around down there. And you want that because it's got the treble hooks on there. And there's a lot of leverage for these fish. So when you're fighting a big smallmouth or largemouth, either one, it kind of can, they can throw it easily. So there's cold, so they don't jump a whole lot, which is good. But they still have like the big head shakes they do underwater. And you just don't want them to be able to throw this big hunk of metal because it's a 3/8 ounce and there's just a lot of movement down there. So that's kind of the rod I'm using. The braid to fluorocarbon setup I've been using this year was Seagar. That's not Smackdown. That's actually the PE X8. And that's the new stuff they got coming out, that JDM line. It's 21-pound test. I've messed with the 18 and the 21. The 21 I seem to like a little bit more. And it is super thin. It's thinner than any of the Smackdown sizes I use in the 10 and 15 pound. And I'm tying this to a leader. I'm using 10-pound fluorocarbon in the wintertime. These fish aren't super line shy, it doesn't seem like. Even if it's super clear water, that doesn't seem to bother them. But it's that fluorocarbon. This is Seagar. Again, it's that new JDM stuff. That is the Grand Max, I believe it's called. You could get away with using Tatsu or Gold Label. I prefer both of those. I really like them. But that Grand Max I've been experimenting with. I really have it's done a good job. It hasn't been real abrasive, getting roughed up by zebra mussel or anything like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in the line. And then the reels, it's a standard 3,000 reel. This is a Daiwa. I don't have a reel partner for next year. So for 2025. So I'm just kind of got a mix. I got some Shimano's, I got some Daiwas, got some other reels that I'm playing with, just trying to see if there's one I like more than another. If you have any comments or suggestions, I'm happy to hear those as well. So that's the kind of setup I got going. Again, we're going to recap everything one more time here. And this is more for smallmouth. I'll do another part or probably another whole show just on largemouth fishing with a blade bait. But you're going to find your area, find where they're wintering at, and you're going to kind of set up on them. Keep them about 60 to 80 feet in front of you. Make your cast, sink it to the bottom in short little hops, 6 to 12 inches. Just little quick ones. You want to feel that blade go vibrate, fall, vibrate, fall, vibrate, fall. And you're going to do that just steadily as you're going all the way back in. If you can start fishing that really cold water where it's 40-ish, 42 and below, then you might have to pick it up where you barely even feel that thing vibrate and let it go back to the bottom. And that's a lot more work. It's usually a cold day out there, so that's a little trickier too. But for that more active fish, yeah, hop it, keep it going, keep it coming back to the boat. I'll work it usually about 3/4 of the way back to the boat. You'd be surprised. Those fish actually do follow the bait in that cold water, and they might just not commit to it until it gets a little bit closer. It just takes them some time to react to it sometimes. So that's kind of my game plan. Make sure you're really paying attention for that vibration. If you're not getting that vibration, it's because your line is hung up on it, and that's where it's going to do that weird flutter thing, and you will not get bit then. So that's another key. 10-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon, and that 21-pound Seaguar PEX braid, and I think you're gonna be good to go. Dobbins rod 743 SF is the Champion Extreme rod of my choice. So hopefully that hits all the points. If you have any questions about it, put them in the comments below. I'm happy to help you pick out the rod or reel you need, bait, anything like that. I'll try to get you directed in the best way I can. So hope you have a great day. Thank you for following along, and I'll talk to you again soon.